What's up, core reporters? Welcome back. I know I said goodnight earlier and it's midnight. I should be sleeping, but listen, this Catelynn and Tyler adoption saga is just really gripping me right now. I just feel so sad for them and everything that they're going through. I still feel so confused about what exactly it is that happened between them and Brandon and Teresa to make Brandon and Teresa suddenly block contact with them and close what was supposed to be an open adoption. So I've been doing some research on the agency that they worked with in order to adopt out their daughter, Carly. What was it even called? I'm sorry, you guys, my brain is so fried. The Bethany Christian Services agency. And listen, there are a lot of stories that sound similar to everything it is that Catelynn and Tyler are describing happened to them. It sounds as if this agency has built a massive reputation of convincing pregnant women that they need to give birth to these children, and like they promote themselves as like a full service thing, like that initially the women who go to them in the event of crisis pregnancies, for example, what Kate went to, perhaps they're going there trying to look for resources to help them financially or just emotionally, psychologically, or anything like that. And that's what agencies like this promote themselves as. But when the women get in there, they are fed a lot of propaganda about why they have to keep their pregnancy instead of having abortions. And so when they are convinced to keep their pregnancies, they then are typically convinced that they have no business raising children, right? And agencies like Bethany Christian Services are accused of telling people, look, you're poor. Like, if you really want your child to have a nice life, give your child to us and we will adopt it out to families that are well off, and children deserve to have a lot of money. And so we'll be able to foster that for you, sort of a deal. Remember, in my Teen Mom Next Chapter recap that I just put out, I did mention that I was going to be going back and watching Catelynn and Tyler's 16 and Pregnant episode, because I think it's going to answer a lot of questions that we have about this entire ordeal and what exactly it is that they were promised. And I will also be covering the reviews coming from adopted children and birth parents as well, saying that they too were misled by this agency, right? But in the meantime, again, I wanted to know what changed. Why are Brandon and Teresa suddenly stopping contact with Catelynn and Tyler? Like, what happened to make them close the door? Like, Kate and Tyler have been posting a lot of things, screenshots and stuff like that, especially on Kate's end, but nothing really explains why the door was closed. And in doing some of my research, I stumbled upon an old Teen Mom video that might explain why this change is suddenly happening now at this age for Carly and why it is so abrupt. So I want to give a shout out to the TikTok page that had posted this a couple the other year. It's called Ms. Know It All, and it's pretty much going to be self-explanatory. You're going to hear that there are some major insecurities going on, and on Brandon and Teresa's side that very well could be contributing to this. Am I saying that Kate and Ty have been angels and they've been perfect throughout this entire adoption process? No, I'm not necessarily saying that, but I'm saying that this video will show another angle.
Different if the cameras were involved. So say if we did a normal Facebook, would posting pictures, would that be different?
We don't really want anyone else posting pictures of our children.
And if I can just say,
hang on. My question is though, so what's the motivation for doing Dr. Drew and then going on the magazine Lifelines? Like, that was putting your picture. You let a camera guy go in your house.
So it's a good question, right? Kate and Ty, because at this point they were visiting with Carly. They were like, oh, like, what if it's just on our private photos? Can we share that we've been able to visit with our biological daughters? Brandon and Teresa say no, they do not want anyone posting pictures of their daughter, right? And so Tyler's like, okay, well, you're letting camera crews, you're letting magazine people post pictures of your daughter. So where is it that you kind of draw the line? Why are these random strangers allowed to post photos of Carly, who is you guys' daughter, but our biological daughter, but we're not allowed to show any aspect of her in our own lives? And this is not just for the MTV cameras, you guys. At this point, this was Tyler asking about their own private social media, which, granted, because they are public figures, was never going to stay all that private, right? And, I wish that that's something, if that was a point of concern for Brandon and Teresa, I wish that that was something that they had brought up on their own there, right? So let's continue.
House.
We have a platform to speak on adoption from an adoptive parent perspective that no one
Nobody
else has.
So he, in response to that, all she does is she twists the question and she says, we have a platform to speak on adoption. And Tyler says, so do we. And that's exactly what this whole thing is founded on. Their relationship was documented from the very beginning of 16 and pregnant. So they knew that Catelynn and Tyler had this platform to speak about adoption from the biological parent perspective. And they were okay with it before, but all of a sudden they're not, though they still want to use their own platform to speak about it from the adoptive family perspective. I find that very interesting, right? I really, really do. But keep watching. She's going to get to what the real heart of the issue is. You're going to see where the insecurities are here.
All I really wanted to say was just, could you understand where we would think that or feel that?
Sure. As you say it now, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I can see how that's.
The interesting and hard thing that comes into this relationship that we have is that the baby biologically is yours, but in every other way, she is our child.
Absolutely.
And you have to trust our decisions.
You're right. You don't have to give us an explanation at all. But when you don't, that's when I'm posting a video. That's when we get bitter and I'm just going to do it. I don't want to feel up here and you guys are constantly up here. I don't want, let's walk around eggshells. Let's make sure Brandon and Teresa are okay and comfortable so we don't get something very precious to us taken away because you can cut us off.
So, right, first of all, Teresa was being a little bit harsh with Catelynn and Tyler. Don't post pics of our child. We can talk about adoption from our perspective, but you can't talk about it from your perspective. And then Tyler says, okay, you guys, it's true that you do not have to explain things to us and whatnot. Certain things or whatever, but we would like for you guys to keep us in the loop of things, instead of just cutting us off and acting like you're holding, our biological child over our heads and we have to walk on eggshells around you. So to me, that indicates that at this point, Brandon and Teresa had already flipped the script on them. And this was Tyler's way of lashing out. And so to this day, people still drag him over the coals over that. But this was years ago, you guys. This was 8-9 years ago. And he was in his early 20s. He was going through the trauma of having placed his daughter up for adoption. And it's supposing to be an open adoption, but the rules changing at the last minute and stuff. And he felt slighted. He admitted that he felt slighted. And he said that he acted out or lashed out in response to that. So I felt okay, although the action was not the greatest choice to make, he took accountability and he admitted what he did, why he did it, and everything behind that. And, again, I want to point out that Brandon seemed a lot more reasonable than Teresa in this interaction. It felt like Teresa was very much what I say goes. You don't have any opinions. You have this baby for me. Now it's my baby kind of thing. And I got to be honest with you guys, I'm not loving her attitude here.
But we've never done that.
Right, but you could.
But we're sitting here today.
I know, right. Exactly.
But what you're saying is that every birth parent feels but they could cut me off.
Right.
It would take a lot for that to happen. So let's
So happened.
clear and open about that. And the irony is there's that same feeling on our side because
Really?
you're always going to be her birth parents and we are never going to be her birth parents. And so I think Teresa and I both kind of worry, not that we're going to be forgotten, but someday she may want to have a relationship with you as an adult to adult. And that is hard for us and scary for us a little bit, frankly.
So there you go. The issue is not really posting photos or anything like that, right? That's not the real issue. The real issue is that Brandon and Teresa fear that Carly will want to have a relationship with Catelynn and Tyler when she grows up. So now it's starting, to me anyway, it's starting to make sense why all of a sudden, as Carly is nearing adulthood, Catelynn and Tyler have been completely shut out of her life. That's what it's sounding like to me. Based on what I saw in the screen grabs and everything like that, and based off the reviews I've seen about this adoption agency and its shady practices, a lot of people who have worked with this agency, either as birth parents or as adoptees, are likening it to legalized human trafficking, you guys. There's a lot to be said about this agency. And like I said, I am doing a lot of research right now. That's why I'm up at this hour. It's just, my latest hyperfixation. And there's a lot of, crazy stuff. There's a lot of very, very tragic stories out there about Bethany Christian Services. And it seems like Catelynn and Tyler are just another casualty to it. What they're describing as an adoption that was meant to be open, and it was promised to be open, to something that was, all of a sudden the door has been shut on them, the rug has been pulled out from under them, is not unique to them. This is actually something that I have heard a lot about this one particular agency. There have been lawsuits against this agency for exactly what it is that Catelynn and Tyler are claiming happened to them. So I believe them. I know in my initial video when I was talking about the screen grabs that Catelynn shared, I said, I just don't understand. Like, I'm not seeing I'm seeing screen grabs of you communicating with them and them not communicating back with you. But what led to this? What led to this? What led to this? And now seeing this in 4K, well, HD, there wasn't 4K back in that day, but seeing it coming out of their own mouths that they were scared of Carly wanting to have a relationship with her biological parents, that explains a lot about why it feels so sudden and why it feels like nothing ultimately really led to this one particular point. Because again, people might say, okay, Tyler posted some stuff like on social media back in the day. That was years ago. But Brendan and Teresa continued to allow them to visit with Carly up until, I want to say 2 years ago or something like that, which was well after the photo incident. But I'm wondering if this is it. This is the underlying issue, right? Let's continue on. There's not much longer left in the video.
So
what's funny is like we have the same feeling and thought too, because even me and Tyler have said like when she gets old enough, she might want nothing to do with us. Which we would be heartbroken and we would understand.
But that's her choice.
With adoption comes loss for
Absolutely.
for all sides of the adoption triangle, and we had already been experiencing loss of not being able to have children.
Right.
You guys obviously were experiencing loss.
It got to the point too where Tyler would be like, "Oh, our friends want us to go out," and I'd be like, "I'm not going anywhere." And he's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Because I'm gonna lay in my bed and cry."
How sad. 2 young kids in a very difficult situation, taken advantage of, in my opinion, by the system, by people in a better financial position than them, by an agency that caters to people in, better financial positions than the people who find themselves pregnant. It's all very sad to watch happen and to watch unfold. And wow, I don't know. Do you guys want me to replay that last part again? Well, actually, you can go ahead and rewind on the YouTube video yourself if you'd like to. I think it would be a little bit too complicated with TikTok's search feature. But wow, isn't that crazy to hear? When Tyler was trying to ask, what's wrong with me posting photos? Like, even if it's like personal, the answer was not the safety of her daughter, like the fame, the this, the that, the other. The answer was, well, we can have TV crews follow us. We can do magazines, because we have a platform to share about adoption, but you can't do anything, That's very interesting. And then when asked why that is, the end of the day, they're scared of Carly wanting to have a relationship with Catelynn and Tyler. Like, I understand why they would be scared, like they did say like, hey, like they fear that they would be forgotten or something like that, like in the background. But I just wish that they knew like that it's more likely that someone in Carly's position, right, an adopted child would just want to have more people to love, to understand herself, like from a biological perspective and everything like that, while still loving her parents, the people who raised her. Like, they cannot be replaced in Carly's life as much as they want, or as much as they feared that they would be. They couldn't be replaced because they're the ones who had her from her very first day of life and raised her over all of these years. You know what? I feel like this agency really should offer some kind of counseling session for the people involved here in this one particular situation, but in, pretty much any case that needs it, right? Because look at this, right? This one mediation session revealed so much. This to me, what's ringing in my head right now? Vanderpump Rules. It's not about the past. It's not about the past. You think that you're fighting about one thing, but you're really fighting about something else that's like creeping from underneath the surface, which is the fear of not being enough, right? Brandon and Teresa fear that they're not enough for Carly because they're not biologically related to her. And they feel like Catelynn and Tyler talking about her you know, posting about her, even just to say, hey, I visited my biological daughter, my this, my that could foster a feeling within Carly that, hey, like, these are my real parents, you know. I forget you guys, these are my real parents. And it's just, I don't think it's the case. I feel like, you know, having 2 parents is great, but having 4 parents is amazing too. 4 people, you know, who love and adore you and who've just been cheering you on and rooting for your growth and everything like that. Anyway, listen, Carly is a teenager right now, you guys. There's only a couple years left until she gets to be old enough to make these kinds of decisions for herself. And I'm not saying, oh, until she decides to go live with Catelynn and Tyler, this, that. No, I'm just saying until she's able to make these decisions and to contact Catelynn and Tyler on her own if she wants to, right? Only if she wants to. And again, this clip that I just showed you guys about Brandon and Teresa revealing their biggest reasoning and their biggest insecurity in being adoptive parents, that doesn't mean that Kate and Ty have been angels this entire time. That doesn't mean that other decisions that they have or have not made didn't potentially lead to this, right? That doesn't mean that, you know, for example, the OnlyFans stuff, which by the way, Tyler did say that never really posed a problem. I don't know, but you know, that doesn't mean that these things didn't contribute. It's just to show you what a core issue that Brandon and Teresa have in this entire adoption ordeal is. You know, and I kind of feel like, okay, well, if that was your worry this entire time, why did you agree to an open adoption? Is that something that you only agreed to in order to get this baby, right? You felt like you had to pretend that you wanted an open adoption when all the while you're scared of your child having contact with these people as an adult. Like, it's very interesting to me. Anyway, sign up for my channel membership, you guys, if you would like to do a deep dive back into Kate and Ty's 16 and pregnant episode, where we can see everything that they were promised when it came to this adoption. And let me know how you felt about this. Does this resurfaced video now change your viewpoint about what's going on and what could have potentially led to all of this? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as usual, we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.